Ready? Get started. Alright, first off, man, I want to say welcome to everybody that's in the room. I start off by introducing myself. My name is Don P. I am the morning show executive producer and host of The Morning Brew on 102.3 FM New Orleans. I'm also the CEO of Music Exchange Radio Network, which is a media, marketing, and production company. And so we do various different projects in media and entertainment. One of them is produce the morning show, of course. We also produce Pep Rally with a Purpose, which is a national school tour in which we do free concerts for students. In between those performances, we use motivational speaking, games and trivia, and role play to promote drug abstinence, safe sex, nonviolence, and career development, financial responsibility. And of course, we've done bigger concerts on the secular side. I mean, our company, I basically just built the company around being a one-stop shop in entertainment, media, and marketing. And so that's a little bit about myself. Of course, we have some other great gentlemen that's going to be on this panel. Today, we're here to represent Dillard University's Center for Racial Justice and Men in the Movement. And of course, we want to thank our sponsors, Planned Parenthood, Men in the Movement, of course, W.K. Kellogg Foundation, and also Dillard University for putting this event on. So we'll start off with giving them a round of applause for bringing us men together to be able to have a good conversation. All right, now that I got the hard part out of the way, let's have some fun, man. Of course, today we got a lot of prolific young men on the panel, and I think one of the things that we want to do today is they have proposed a series of questions. And the whole idea about today is to generate conversation. Somebody asked me before, did I have a strategy? Was we going to go down the line? And I was happy that he asked me that question because I didn't have a strategy. But after him asking me that question, thank you, Austin, I thought it would be better that I'll throw questions out there and I'll propose certain questions to an individual to start the conversation. And I'll just kind of do it randomly. And from that point on, once that first person give their perspective on that conversation, as gentlemen, we'll each address each other and have a real conversation so it don't seem so, oh, I'm going to give an answer, and I'm going to give an answer, and I'm going to give an answer too. I think that would be the best way. We'll do this free flow. Of course, man, also want to thank everybody that's here. I see some people that I've worked with before. Of course, man, some members of the basketball team and athletic people that's in the building. I am happy to see you guys. We want to have y'all perspective. We want you guys to feel comfortable in being a part of the conversation. A conversation only works when both people are talking. So if we just doing the talking and you guys are not doing the talking with us, then we might not be maximizing the potential of the conversation. The idea is to share the knowledge. So at this point in time, I'm gonna start with my man Austin at the end, and then we'll work our way back and give each person an opportunity to introduce themselves, tell them a little bit about what they do, and to make it fun, each person tell something about themselves that you wouldn't guess by looking at it. All right?
Well, I'm Austin Banks Jr. I work as a corporate outreach specialist for Oshner. So I hire anything that's non-PSS, anything that's not a traditional position. So that's physical therapists, pharmacists, surgical tech, nursing. Also in nursing school, and with my frat brother, we are a business owner. We're about to release our food truck soon. So just a couple of things. I went to Southern University to get my master's. I went to Southeast University for undergrad, and I'm currently in nursing school at Chamberlain University as a part of the Oshner Nurse Scholars Program, as well as a talent ambassador for Oshner as well. something that I wouldn't normally tell people. My first job was working on a farm, picking tomatoes. Yeah. So in Bell Chase, my first job, my coach gave me a job picking tomatoes from 3 a.m. to 12 in the afternoon, and they paid cash every day. And I took that money and I went to undergrad. So, a little fun fact about me.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Knew you was going to go to college. Picking tomatoes.
Oh yeah, that's
college. Education.
All right, my name is Dillard Elsie. I work at the Corps of Engineers. I am actually just got a position, lead civilian there. It's the military. It's part of the military, but it's mostly civilian. We've got 1,100 people that work there. So I have an engineering background. I also own a real estate firm. I have a group of agents that work with me. We do both commercial and real estate. Grew up in the area, went to Slidell High, went to UNO, got a degree in electrical engineering, and then at that point I went and got a license to be a real estate. So I've been doing that for about 15 years. I've been at the Corps of Engineers for about 22 years. Got my son that goes to FAMU. He just started. He's a freshman there. So navigating that piece. Get used to having a kid in college. And man, little known fact. That's gonna be a tough one. I'm gonna stay in line with him. I used to jug water for one of my neighbors because my parents we lived at more of a rural part of Slidell at the time, and we had a fresh well, so I used to bottle up the water and get paid by the jug. So that's a little known fact. I know you guys probably can't relate to that, but that's something that I used to do.
So y'all was selling the water?
No, we wasn't selling it, but it was a family friend. But she would pay me for jugging carrying it over to the house.
Carrying it to the house.
Yeah.
All right, that's what's up.
You know, it was like weight training.
Interesting, Corps engineers. That's interesting.
Yeah.
My name is Carlos Lee. I'm from Lake Charles, Louisiana. I live in New Orleans. Been here for about 10 years. I'm a pharmacist, pharmacy manager at CVS on Claiborne and Elysian, so y'all can come see me. I've been in pharmacy for about 12 years now. I went to LSU for undergrad in Baton Rouge. Came to Xavier after 3 years. Got my doctorate of pharmacy degree at Xavier, and been doing that ever since. Fun fact about me, since we're talking about tomatoes and stuff, I love gardening, so I have plenty of citrus trees. I love to just make drinks, recipes at home with plants. Makes me feel very whole.
What made you want to be a pharmacist? How did that correlate with your love for vegetation?
Well, I initially wanted to be a doctor because growing up, I was like grade A student. So my parents were like, oh, you gotta be a doctor. That's like the main, most prestigious job you can have. And after I shadowed a couple of them, I was like, I'm not a big fan of this. It seemed like they took a lot home. And with pharmacy, when I get off work, I get to enjoy life with my wife and keep things moving. You know?
That's what's up. That's what's up, great info.
My name is Lamont Hughes. I'm from New Orleans by way of San Antonio, Texas. I'm one of the founding attorneys at Hills, Names & Associates, one of the fastest growing law firms in the city. Check us out. I went to Southern University Law Center. That's where I met this man here. So I'm a proud graduate of the Southern University Law Center. And a fun fact about me, I took German AP 2 years in high school, but if you don't use it.
But I thought you was gonna say a fun fact about you is you are very well dressed. Like that suit, my brother. I ain't even see the socks.
Tie coming in.
Cutting up.
That's that lawyer talk.
Alright, y'all. My name is Cedric LeBlanc. I gotta pause this for a second. You want a basketball team? Yes. What time is that?
This was the movie on the one.
Come on here and tell me that's my little cousin. That's why I'm asking. That's why I said that. But nah, man. Originally born and raised here in New Orleans, Louisiana, man. It was a big factor for me to want to go ahead and get all of my education here in Louisiana to be able to prove the point, right? You know, statistically, Louisiana is, kind of, for lack of better words, kind of bottom of the barrel when it comes down to certain things across this country. When we're talking about economic growth, when we're talking about educational institutions, so on and so forth. And so it was really a big thing for me to want to stay home, to be able to get all of my education. So I did my undergraduate at Southeastern in Hammond, Louisiana. I graduated with a bachelor's in sport management. And then I left there and attended Southern University Law Center, got my JD and became an attorney as well as an NFL agent. Fun fact about me, a big part of the reason why I went to law school is kind of not change the mood of things, but back in the summer of 2014, I was a victim of police brutality over in Greco. I don't know if y'all familiar with that area. It's not this on the West Bank. Okay, so historically, they don't play over it. Yeah, for sure. And so, a big part at that time for me, like I said, I didn't know jack squat about rights and, things of that nature. And so I wanted to be able to affect change in a real way. And that was one of the main reasons that prompted me to go ahead and get my JD.
Just sidebar question. You became an attorney. How'd you get into being a sports agent? That's like a lot of people think about being a sport agent, but how do you get into being a sport agent?
Yeah, so I think the love obviously started very young. Always having a passion about sports, right? And obviously, as you can see, my stature didn't necessarily catch up to what my mentality was. And so when I had to come to the realization that, playing wasn't or might not necessarily be my reality, it was kind of like, okay, what's the kind of next best thing? And so for me, it was either coaching or athlete representation. I have a good friend of mine who's more like a brother. He's actually in the NFL now. A guy by the name of Arthur Millette from down here, plays DB for the Baltimore Ravens. He was locked in since adolescence. And he was a big part of the reason of me just growing to, love not only sports in itself, but also being able to realize what's going on the business side of sports, right? Because the game is one thing, but the business of the game is something totally different. And so, going through the qualifications and requirements and figuring that out, kind of finding my way is essentially how I got to it, man. It's something that, I'm extremely passionate about and want to be able to continue to grow and thrive.
That's what's up, man. Congratulations.
Sure.
All right.
How y'all doing? My name is Justin Lee Sr., also known as Jenny the Realtor. I am originally from New Orleans, born and raised in the 7th Ward, not too far from here. I left and matriculated at Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. Then I went to LSU for my master's degree in business administration, family enterprise and entrepreneurship specifically. I am also now in school for my PhD at Georgia State in organizational leadership. Professionally, I'm kind of like the duality type of guy. So I actually work corporate for Cox, which is like the cable company. So I'm a senior program manager there, make 6 figures there, been there 5 years. Then on the side of it, I'm a multi-millionaire. So I have a real estate company. I'm the youngest real estate broker like my brother in the Southeast region. I have my own 15 agents in Georgia. I have 3 in Louisiana. I have 5 in Florida. I'm also a licensed general contractor. I'm the youngest also in the nation to hold a general unlimited license, a license in 16 states. So I've done 8 Chase Banks. I'm doing an AMC movie theater in Atlanta right now. A couple cookouts, which are like McDonald's almost, and a ton of restaurants, nightclubs, stuff like that. I also own a portfolio of rental properties here and in Atlanta, about 150 units. So in the East, I own tons of apartment complexes out there. And last but not least, more recently, I acquired an Amazon franchise. So like the gray vans that come to our house, those are owned by somebody. I own 40 of them out of Minnesota. So really just untraditional. Fun fact about me, I started off in high school, really in middle school when I met Tia. Elementary actually, I met Tia. And I always sold something. I was the guy that would come to school with pencils in my bag and sell them. Or Airheads, $5 for $1, right? And I always was kind of like a guy that kept moving, but I couldn't really fit in. So I was the kid that moved. I went to 9 schools for high school. I literally did half a semester at different schools. I can't make this up. I was the same dog, John Curtis, 3-5 for a week, I graduated from the Lake area, moved to Texas, came back. Like, I literally went to every school because I couldn't fit in. I was just so different, right? And I want to say that really was what cultivated me because I stayed to myself. I don't smoke, I don't drink, I still don't. I'm a Q dog, you know what I'm saying? But I've always stayed to myself, and that was what made me unique. And I've been able to kind of, get through it. People used to pick on me, whatever, but now it's like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, tables turn. I got 110 employees, I have a national headquarters in Atlanta. Like I said, I probably encompass about 50 million in net worth, and I'm cool. I wear what I want, do what I want, But I was cool with being myself and being uncomfortable with people not liking me. You know what I'm saying? So that's a fun fact about me, bro.
That's what's up. Just a sidebar question. To acquire so many things, at I would assume a fast pace. What do you think was the number one characteristic to help you be able to cultivate that, like to help you be able to balance life? And so what I'm saying is, this is a black men talk, and as black men, there's so many things out there. You know what I'm saying? That to knock us off course. It's a magic trick sometimes.
Yeah.
What's that one thing that, all right, stay away from this, you're gonna be way better off. But in your opinion, because it could be multiple things.
I'd say for me, my reality was different. Like I said, I grew up in the 7th Ward, and all of my cousins, literally, I'm the only one in my family without a record. Literally, everybody. You know what I'm saying? And I just kind of looked at it and said, what did I really want for myself? And how could I better my family, right? So I just was real disciplined. And I was kind of looked at as lame because I wasn't with the smoking, I wasn't with the drinking. I didn't want to go hang out. I wanted to sit inside and read and research. So I was lame, but I was comfortable being lame. I was disciplined and I was playing my stuff. So I would say discipline, focus on yourself and what you got going on, and just write your goals out. It's kind of like my hoodie say, dreams don't work unless you do. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't just say I want to be this. I said, okay, I want to do this, so this is how I'm going to do it. And I found people that did what I wanted to do and, started to do it.
Oh, man, that's what's up. All right, man. All right, we're going to get ready to jump into a series of questions to continue our discussion. Of course, this is a black men discussion show. Of course, a lot of our questions are going to be based around black men, and we want to try to be as honest and transparent as possible. Before we get ready to start, man, first of all, I want y'all to give a round of applause for our panel and all the people on the panel. I feel amongst greatness right now, man. This is beautiful. This is a beautiful thing, man. Definitely. So I'll go ahead and kick this thing off. I'm going to start the first question. I'll shoot it down there to my man Austin. He ain't got a chance to talk in a little while. Let him make sure I keep him fresh and on his toes. How do you define success?
That's a very unique question, but I think it's very personalized. Success comes in different ways, and success changes. Success is based on what you want to do, right? So setting goals, outlining those goals, and reaching them. But I think as I've accumulated through life, I've learned that will change. You won't be satisfied. You may not be satisfied in one area, or you may get into something, learn as much as you can about it, and say, hey man, I like this, but there's something else for me. So success is ever changing. I would look at it more so as, what is it that you want to outline for your life? What is the person that you want to be? And I always do that based on my morality. How I was raised, how my parents were, they tell you, so you're a bank, you have to contribute something to this world. So I think part of my success has to be outlined with my community or me providing or doing something positive. Now for somebody else, it could be just strictly money. It could be influence. So I think you should resonate with who you are and what you want to be looked at. Yes.
Dillard, you have seen a lot of success. My question to you is, can you define moments of your growth in your career throughout this time, up until this point, of when your idea of success have changed and what pivoted that moment?
No, I think that's a good question. And a relative question. So recently, just being candid, I'm kind of like going in. I work on a corporate job. I have my business, and so after this year, and I talked to a couple of my friends. I'm like, I'm transitioning. I'm going out. Do my own thing, and really focus in on growing the business and the brand. And my mind was 100% made up. But in our organization, there was a position that came open as the senior civilian. And I was like, man, I don't want to do that job. I served as the deputy. I've seen the work that they've had to do. And I'm like, there's 0% chance I'm going to do that job. They don't pay you enough. I'm work more. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to focus on building this brand. And talked to my mentors, and I basically wrote a resignation letter. Put a date on it, January 15, 2024. Sir, talking to the military officer, hey, I'm not putting in for this. This is not what I want to do. And he's like, well, why don't you just think about it this weekend? Let's go home and think about it. I went and talked to my dad, and my dad was like, well, son, don't underestimate fulfilling your purpose, right? And don't underestimate being an opportunity to be the first person to walk or sit in a particular seat. So the position at the agency's been around 220 years. There's never been a person of color. It's all been old white men for the last 220 years in this seat. And the Corps of Engineers that here in New Orleans, we lead the nation. We have people from all over the world coming to see the different work that we do here in the city. So my dad was like, don't underestimate the power of men first. And I'm like, man, I'll do this. So after thinking about it, praying on it, I was like, all right, well, I'll throw my name in the hat. And my dad was like, well, if you throw your name in the hat, you got to go to win. So I went all in. And I'm like, I'm going all in, I want this, I want that. And literally, for me, going through this process, and basically last Friday, they actually offered me the position. I'll be the first black man to ever sit in that chair. And to see the impact for the folks, all the folks that I've hired throughout the years of being there, and my family, and just, I've had folks that I hadn't heard from, people I don't even know, like, man, that's what's up. So I said all that to say is that when you actually fulfill your purpose, I think that's when you really culminate to success. You can go out there and make millions of dollars. You can go out there and build multi-billion-dollar companies. If you haven't come anywhere near fulfilling what your purpose in being where you're supposed to be, you haven't really reached success. And I think, although this is not where Ron wanted to be, the fact that I'm sitting here, I think I'm fulfilling my purpose, and that's where I feel like I've actually reached a level of success.
That's what's up, man. Great answer. Great story. All right, Carlos, we're going to switch gears. I'm going to jump into another question. Austin spoke about it a little bit, and I'll give you an opportunity to expound on it. This next question on our list. How has your upbringing, your family background influenced your life experiences and choices? And to make it a little bit more specific, can you think of a specific moment where you knew, I'm not going to do this, or I am going to do this because of something that affects of my family background?
Okay, so both of my parents, only one of my parents graduated from high school. So I knew that I wanted to get an education. My parents also always pushed that on me. I was the first one in my family to leave home, go to college, get a degree. My dad is a firefighter, so he's a huge community person. He's always giving back to people, volunteering his time and potentially his life to protect others. That has inspired me in ways where I feel being a pharmacist, I am able to give back to the community by helping educate people, make smarter decisions with their lives, potentially extend their lives so that they can be around their loved ones. And being a pharmacist, it gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling whenever I can help people that truly don't understand how to better themselves physically so they can, continue to be around their family.
Dope. Lamont, what about yourself? Family background. What's your family background, and how do you feel like it has affected you in your career path and the way you've grown in life or success?
I think my family background is the reason that I'm in the seat that I'm in now. My mom had me at 16, got kicked out for having me. My dad was never around me, lost a leg in my life to drug addiction. And I just never really had that family core support, never really had too much guidance. But what I did do, although I didn't have, a solid male figure in my life to tell me what to do, I also learned from the mistakes of others. And I would look at the men that came in and out of my life the wrong way and learn what not to do, and I think just having that resiliency and having my back against the wall in so many different situations just brought me a different level of grit and discipline. If I had the discipline, it wasn't no parachute, wasn't no umbrella. If I fall, if I don't make it, you know what I'm saying? I'm all I got. So jump out, start a business. It's not like, okay, how much money you need? This is what you need. No, it's okay, let me know how it goes. You know what I'm saying? So never having a backup, always wanting to build something for myself and my family that I could leave on for a legacy. Because I feel like my purpose is to enrich, to teach, to bring others up. You know what I'm saying? So, and to help others learn without having to make the mistakes that I learned. So.
No, man, don't answer. I love the fact of the matter. I keep hearing the mentions of legacy. I keep hearing that this conversation. Second, legacy. I want to make this a two-part question. I want you to tell me, what does legacy mean to you? And then also, in your opinion, has the idea, when you think about the world in general, do you think the idea of legacy is different from maybe something we thought of in the past?
So I'll start with the first question. I mean, legacy for me personally is everything. Legacy is, one of the main reasons why I wake up and do exactly what I need to do. I have to do, right, and continue to push forward. At the end of the day, there's only one fact that from the day we're born, we're all stamped with an expiration. Nobody lives forever, right? And so for me, legacy is, what did you do with your time while you were here? What were you able to leave behind, knowing that at the end of the day, we're all just passing through. To answer the second part of your question, do I think the definition of what legacy is has changed? No, not necessarily from over time, from back then to now, but I do think the perspective in which we looked at it back then versus how we may look at it now has changed, right? And so obviously a lot with the younger generation, I feel that, and again, this is an open conversation, so if anybody wants to chime in and say otherwise, please do. But I just feel like it's so much more about instant gratification, and nobody wants to lock into delayed gratification anymore, right? Nobody wants to put in the time and the work and the sweat equity that it takes in order to earn something of substance over some time, and ultimately have that be yours to do whatever it is that you want with it, and most of all, be able to leave it behind for generations to come. And so I think that's something that we need to look at internally within our community as Black men, and be able to get a little bit more reverence about, because it's real, and time is ticking.
Word up, man. Great answer. Anybody in the audience want to respond from a different perspective, maybe a younger perspective? I know we got some people that I think for us, we probably all maybe a little older than some of these people that's in the audience. Anybody want to respond? What you guys' idea of legacy is, or somebody want to give their idea of legacy? Definitely want to give you guys an opportunity to jump into the conversation. Yeah, say your name.
My name is Cameron.
Where you from?
I'm from Georgia, but I lived in Chicago since I was 7.
All right.
Succession.
And what's your classification?
I'm a freshman in the succession.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
I feel like legacy, at least for me, is like when I'm gone, you're not here anymore. What are the people going to remember most about you? And I want it to be positive, not just anything. Like it has to be. I'd rather have it be like influential, like just uplift people, kind of like what you were saying now. But it's also like, I feel like as time has progressed, it's like people want more and more things, but they're not willing to do as much as it takes to get there. So like it's like the want is higher, but like the work to get there is coming down. We're becoming more lazy as people to do what we want to do. And I feel like it's kind of the opposite. It's like if you want to leave behind something, you gotta work to get there, to build up, to make sure you have it where you want it to be before you leave.
What's up, man? What's up, man? Great answer. All right. Well, I'm gonna jump back to the panel. We're gonna kind of switch gears a little bit, and black men. There's all kinds of statistics out there that talk about black men and our ability to cope with stress, how we cope with stress, hidden stress that nobody knows about. I think a great place to start with this is somebody like Jay Lee. Man, you have accomplished amazing things in a short amount of time. Outside of just your businesses, what is your level of stress as a black man?
I'd say honestly, extremely stressful. Gotta be honest with you, bro. Like, I think it's because your stress level is going to be gauged on really how you create your environment in your life, your inner network, right? Once you really choose what your focus is in life, then that will dictate what you care about and what you don't. I think for me, my biggest level of stress at times is going to be not really about the money, right? It's more about my family. So as I mentioned, I have family members, everybody in jail. I get a call every day from a different cousin in jail for murder or something I can't help him with. I'm a father, you know what I'm saying? I'm a full-time single father at that. And balancing business with being a father, while I didn't have a father, but trying to be the best that I never had, is a lot of times stressful. And I think that, the best way to do it is I look at it like the prayer of serenity. You know what I'm saying? Grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference. You feel me? So that's really what I wake up every morning and pray. When I'm stressed out, I'll stop and just say that quick prayer and just kind of let it go. Because you can only control what you can control. You know what I'm saying? So I always pray the prayer of serenity, take time for myself, find a way to discharge. So like I like to work out, but lately I really like to go to the shooting range, and shoot, you know what I'm saying? That's a way to decompress. And when things get a little too crazy, like I have a therapist, you know what I'm saying? Like we all have insurance, use it, like it's free. Y'all can use Teledoc, it's a virtual therapist, nobody never knew. You want to hold FaceTime with a therapist, you know what I'm saying? So that's a hint I throw to everybody, like I use therapy a lot. Like it's not lame, it's not like something wrong with you, especially in the black community. It's like therapists, like don't tell about your business. But it's like you really have to have that help sometimes from people, and I use it. So that's how I deal with stress.
That's what's up. I'm gonna do an open question. Anybody on the panel will feel open about discussing a specific moment when they let the stress overwhelm them, whether it's chasing success, whether it's dealing with your family, whether it's the combination, because in my experiences, when it's been overwhelming, it's because it's a combination. It's the combination. It's not just the job. It's not just the family. It's a combination. Anybody would be open to being transparent about an experience and talk about how do you deal with it? How do you deal with that particular experience?
All right, because I'll go first.
I talked a little bit more recently than you did. So.
Go ahead and jump in there, right? Go ahead and jump in there.
So this year probably has been one of the most stressful years I've ever had. So my mom was very, very healthy. I mean, I got a set of in-laws, mother-in-law, father-in-law, my dad, my mom. My mom would be like the last person you think would have to deal with illness. So she called me one day in March, and long story short, she ended up having a very rare form of cancer. So working the job I'm working, having my son, who was at Ben Franklin at the time, playing basketball with Ben, daughters at volleyball, you got pressures of husband, running around with properties, doing things, and still trying to be there for your mom, but you're watching your mom die, essentially. And she had a quick fight, 90 days. She's gone. So you watch a woman that could literally run a mile at the drop of a dime to just deteriorate in that time frame, and you still got to function. I never forget it. I got a call from the doctor because they would call me, give the updates, and I had to literally go in and brief the senator right after getting a horrible update. But I have to compartmentalize and walk in that room because I'm paid to do a specific job. I can't go in there like, well, the doctor so you got to learn how to manage that stress, and it can be overwhelming at times, right? I close my door, I have my eyes sweat a little bit, and then wipe it off, go in there, I breathe, and I went back and closed my door, and I was like, you know what? I need to take the rest of it. So there'll be those moments where you will feel overwhelmed. You just got to find your way to work through it. And Jay said the realest thing, Black men and Black people, we need therapists. There's so much undealt trauma that we've never addressed, and we carry that baggage along that impacts how we are fathers to our kids, how we're sons, how we're husbands, and we don't even realize what it is we're doing, but that's because we won't go get the necessary help to deal with it, right? And having that outlet is helpful, and pairing that with prayer and meditation and workouts, all of that stuff is critical to battling the stress.
No, man, dope answer. I know. All right, we'll kick it over to you, Cedric, and you'll give us a specific moment when you were dealing with overwhelming stress and how did you overcome it.
So, a couple of my guys on the panel, my brothers in the crowd right now too, probably can attest to, not probably, they definitely can attest to this going on. Man, so I actually just got in the game, both being an attorney and an agent 2 years ago. I graduated May of 21, took the law exam, a week later took the agent exam, not both of them out. So at the time, the goal or the plan rather was, once I got certified, I had a lot of things against me in regards to being an agent, right? I was already young, didn't really have the wherewithal and resources, obviously didn't have the experience, just getting in the game. I had done some internships with a few boutique agencies and had started building a couple relationships and things of that nature across the business, but just bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, not really knowing what I was getting myself into. But the one thing I did think I could have kind of linked on or hung my hat on was that, a really good friend of mine who was getting ready for a contract year and things of that nature, that he was going to give me the opportunity to be able to, step in the room and represent him in a a very real and intentional way, right? So everything that was kind of going against me was what it was, but the fact that I could say, hey, I'm a rookie agent who just negotiated a multi-million-dollar veteran deal was something that's unheard of. Kind of say all that to give you context and background to say that fast forward to it's time to get the deal done. I mean, me and this person had, talks multiple weeks leading up into the deal date, right? We were on the same page, and even when the negotiations started, right? At the time, he was also kind of parlaying between myself and another agent. So to try to make a long story short, I helped indirectly with the deal, and we got it done. But ultimately, went with the other agent, and I had no parts in it or her. And when it came down to kind of like his explanation, he really didn't have it. So just say that to say everything from a domino effect that moment had, right? Because I mean, I got a whole next year that I'm recruiting, and I'm being able to rely on this, like, hey, I may not have X, Y, and Z, but I'm gonna have X, Y, and Z, So just the domino effect that moment had, right? And then also dealing with somebody close, right? Somebody that I looked at that wasn't necessarily blood, but could have been blood, was very disappointing, right? So I went into a mode of just like, man, I don't even know if this is for me. Shit, if my own, people who literally watched me go through this process didn't have enough confidence or believed in me enough to give me that opportunity or chance, how the hell am I going to be able to go up to a stranger or somebody that I don't, So, I mean, I was locked up in the crib, for a couple of weeks at this point, right? Phone blowing up, I'm ignoring everybody, I'm not talking to nobody. At this time, I had just started my law firm, right? And anybody who knows who owns a business and things of that nature, I didn't have a staff, right? Thank God I literally, this past week was able to just hire my first assistant. But literally from secretary to, receptionist to paralegal to the lawyer to everything I was already doing on my own on top of having to face that defeat. And so it was very hard for me, man. But say all that to say is, all you need is one person. Each and everybody in this building right now has one person, whether it's family, friends, even a stranger, that is either looking up to you or believes in you, right? That you're a lot bigger than what you see yourself as. Lock into that, right? Because that was what was able to help pull me out of that funk. That was what because although this one deal, this one opportunity didn't work, there's so many more people who are going to rely on me, not only personally, but professionally. And I had to be able to get myself out of that, know that everything will always go your way. But it's about perseverance. It's about how you take the fall off and bounce back from it. So, I would say.
No, don't bounce. Don't bounce. Just to kind of, to add on to that, it kind of reminds me of something I always say. I always say, success is not about wins and losses. People always think success is about wins and losses. I always tell people, success is about how well you recover. Because everybody is going to win and everybody is going to lose. Everybody is going to go through something. But the people who tend to be more successful, they are people that recover quickly. And so I've always worked at, I'm going to have my moments. And I allow myself to have those moments. But I also say, we're going to have our moments, but we're going to get over that. We're going to wipe our face. We're going to go out there and address the symptom. That's what we do. All right. Now, to add to that, that's what we do. That's what we do. I'll put one more question in about stress levels, and that's what we do. That toughness, that grit. I'll sit this one down and let everybody say a little something about this particular question, and give their opinion about it. That toughness, that grit, that's what we do. That whole ideology of that's what we do. We live. That's what we do. In your opinion, negative, positive, both?
I'm gonna say tough times never last tough people, right? So you go get negative and positive with anything that you do. That's what's gonna come with the stress when you're dealing with negative, maybe living off that high of the positive, whether it's reaching that goal and getting that money, whatever it is. But man, you gotta be able to take both. You gotta take the good and the bad. If you can't take the good and the bad, if you don't have the bad, how you gonna recognize how good the good really is? And in my life, man, I started off picking tomatoes. I work behind a desk. They pay me every time I drive over a mile. I get to breathe into other people's lives now, right? Give people jobs, give people opportunity, and to see where I started from, and to look and say, hey, man, I made it here, and I know that it's not enough, is a blessing in itself. You know.
Definitely, Ron. That's what we do, man.
Yeah, I think that is just part of being a man. I don't view it negative. I don't necessarily think it's positive. I think it just shows what a person is, right? And you got to know that there's always tomorrow. So every day there's a chance. And I know we got several basketball players in there. It's like, as long as you got time on the clock, you got a chance. And you can't just quit in life, no matter what it gives you. You just got to keep persevering. Like you say, you have your moments, you fight through it, and you just keep rolling. And I think that's a mindset. If you, one of the lines of success always leaves a clue. When you study the most successful people talk about Kobe, the manhood mentality. That's because he's like, as long as there's time on the clock, I got a chance. I got a shot. I'm gonna just keep grinding, and that consistency pays off over time. So I don't really view it as a negative. I think that perseverance is what it's gonna take to make it work.
Switch it up a little bit, Carlos. That's what we do. Like, where they come from for you? Everybody got it from somewhere.
Well, can you repeat what the
the original question was? That's what we do. Some people can view that as like, oh, it's this great moment of perseverance. But another side of that is you might not have enough thought or consideration within yourself to make sure that you're checking to see if you good. Sometimes that whole idea of that's what we do is how we get to that point of maxing out.
Yeah. So, like, pretty much, how do I conquer?
I figure you have it, and I figure you have it in you. So I was just kind of switching up the conversation a little bit because they talk about the same thing to give you something different to talk about. Because all of us, a lot of people have that. A lot of people have that mentality of that's what we do. It all comes from somewhere with somebody. It came from someone. For you, where it come from?
I would say just trying to make a better life for myself than what I grew up with as a child. I always wanted to be able to take care of myself, my spouse, my family, be somebody that people can depend on, be around. Not just financially, but also spiritually.
Who was your male mentor in your life?
It'd be my father. He was dedicated to his job for 35 years. He raised 4 children. But a job that didn't pay that well. He always made ends meet, provided a good life for us, and kept our family together. So. Very inspirational to me.
That's what's up. All right, Lamont, and you, man, real estate agent, you got it right, doing it, baby, I got it right? I'm messing up, lawyer. Big shout out to, all right,
2 lawyers.
2 lawyers right here, lawyer, same difference. Successful.
But he's smart.
Successful, like, where you get it from? Where it come from for you?
At an earlier age, honestly, from football. I know a lot of young men in the building probably resonate with sports. It's kind of like your way out, that's your outlet. That's how I learned to release some of my stress and some of my pain. That's how I learned. I learned from my coaches. Those were my male mentors. And in those sports, you often teach or taught that it's about mental toughness and mental fortitude. That's where you really get that mindset from. I'm the type of person, I never get too high on the wins. I never get too low. I like to stay even. And I got that. from football as well. But I said to say that mindset that we keep, that this is what we do, always worry about the grind, getting to the goals you gotta get to by any means, at all costs, doing it for us, doing it for your last name. That, for lack of a better word, is toxic sometimes. You know what I'm saying? We have to embrace that as black men. Like, man, I remember I'm 29 years old. I'm at the cardiologist, my chest hurt, bro. I got lives depending on me. I got payroll to pay. I got employees, I got clients. I got murder charges on the line. Clients lost their loved ones. I'm trying to bring them enough money back from this settlement to recoup and sustain these kids for the rest of their life. So, real life situations, real life problems going on. And meanwhile, still trying to deal with mine. Make sure mom good back home. Make sure balancing all these different plates, but never checking back in to see what I'm putting out into everybody else, but I'm not making sure my glass is still full. So, just having good friends in my corner to keep me tapped in, because you leave it up to us sometimes, we're not gonna do it. So I can't say, that this is what we do mentality. I'm blessed and I'm grateful for it, because I wouldn't be able to do what I've done and get to where I've gotten to. But if you don't have someone to balance you and check you, if you're not doing it yourself, it can be really dangerous. So that's where therapy comes in. And as black men, our first therapist, not only therapist, a lot of times, ironically, think about it, be a barber. You know what I'm saying? That's the first person you really get to sit there with. You're talking, you are unloading your problems, you're constantly venting sometimes with no response. Sometimes you get a response from the whole room. And then at the end of everything, you turn around, you're a whole new person. You got clean shave, clean face, clean looking, feel good. And that's therapy. That's the first form of therapy that we start to get. It can feel that good, reaching out, and doing it with a professional can feel better. And we had a stigma when I was growing up, like, you going to therapy, you crazy. Man, that's real life, man. We gotta tap in, we gotta be there. We have to care for each other, we have to care for ourselves. So I got it from football, but it's developed through my friends to balance it. It's all about the balance, man. Life is a balance.
All right, Cedric, who was your most memorable male mentor?
Sitting in all that's my big word right there. Put your hand up with that's my biggest male mentor my entire life, man. Will always set the standard, bro, and at a very early age, let me know that, hey, nobody in this world will you in it. After a certain point, not even mom and dad. You know what I'm saying? And it's all you to be able to get out here and make something of yourself. It's hard to follow up behind this man right here. I ain't gonna lie, that was some stuff, man. Because I did get a lot from growing up, obviously my coaches and things of that nature, playing sports, that intestinal fortitude, that grit, that perseverance, all of those different qualities that you learn, innately, right? Not even know subconsciously, being instilled with certain characteristics and qualities, just participating, right? And you don't even know it. So I think, that infrastructure at a very young age is crucial and important in helping to build, a solid foundation, man. But this book definitely was a solid one in my life to help, give me that direction.
What about you, Justin? That this is what we do. That drive, that goal, man. You have a lot, managing a lot. That this is what we do. Have you ever got to a point where it was too much?
Yeah.
And when you got to that point, how did you realize? How did you realize, like, all right, I'm going too far?
Honestly, that would be recently, like real recent. Because, like, a lot of times people that say, you'll get quote unquote rich and it's just supposed to be peachy cream, but no. Like, especially like right now in real estate, I know here, interest rates are crazy right now. That means that the mortgages for properties that you have might double or triple if you had an adjustable mortgage. So that means you have to be able to pay for stuff that you didn't plan to pay for, but it might triple. So that's like your car no tripling tomorrow. Like, but you got 150 cars. Like, what you gonna do? You see what I'm saying? So that's kind of me right now, where I'm at that point. Like, oh man, like I got all this stuff, but I got all this responsibility. See, nobody talks about what you have to do to maintain this. And I mean, tough decisions have to happen at times. I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, well, I have this, I work so hard to get it, but if I'm gonna lose my mind trying to keep it, I gotta let some stuff go and I get it back. You know what I'm saying? So just being able to just deal with it and just be a man enough to myself to see, I don't really care what the next person thinks, like, oh, he had this, but he sold that, or whatever it is. It's more like you have to just be comfortable with yourself. And when you get to that point, to have a breaking point of know that what's most important is what somebody think or how you feel. And for me, it's always how I feel. You know what I'm saying? So that's really what I end up doing. I just think back on me.
All right, man. No bounce, man. Give it up for Justin, man. I think being transparent, because a lot of people don't. I think a lot of times when you meet, it's very rare that you get an opportunity to talk to people on a certain professional level, and they be realistically transparent with you to say, yeah, I'm good, but bro, I might be looking at $200,000 bill next month. I don't know, I don't.
Where it's coming from? Me right now. Like the first 2 weeks ago, where it? Oh my God.
Right. So I always say take advantage of the transparency and like don't miss the messages. Of course, now we're gonna jump into it's a men's health conversation, and now we're gonna jump from the success side of it, and we're gonna kind of jump into some things a little bit more personal. Again, I do want to remind you guys, even though it's a panel discussion, I want to always let you guys know if it's something that you want to contribute to the conversation, or it's an opinion that you want to add to it, or maybe you want to give a different perspective. Because a lot of us may have, when I look across the panel, I think we all fit a certain demographic. So we may have similar perspectives. So we want to just make sure that we always keep the floor open and comfortable for our guests to tap in. And I'll try to make sure that I'm scanning the room. Of course, a wave works sufficiently. All right. So, wait, who we had last? Justin? All right, we'll go back down to Austin. We'll go back down to Austin. We're going to talk about gender roles. Gender roles have been a hot topic of discussion in all kind of podcasts. You have, it's just, you have all different sides of gender role. Give me your opinion of, let me think about how I want to pose this question, because I want to make sure that because it's just so many ways that I can pose it. And when we're talking about gender roles, Austin, talk a little bit about what is your idea of gender roles when it comes to masculinity and feminine?
I get that directly from my father. You know, he's old. And not to put him down, he's 69, about in the 70s. So he's real traditional. I bring my check to my wife, baby, who can we do? That's it. You know what I'm saying? So, but from my aspect, today's time it doesn't go like that. So when I'm looking at the gender roles, like you want to be the provider, you know, you want to be caring, but it's in this year's space, like even with jobs or anything like that, like it's defined about what you want to do and how you want to execute it in your relationship. Now, me personally, I want to be that provider for my family. I'm a traditional man. I want to be the one chasing. You know what I'm saying? But so many ways that you can kind of like chop this down. You know?
No, I definitely think it's a lot of ways that we can kind of chop this discussion up. That's why with each person, I'm gonna kind of ask, in this particular question, I'm gonna ask a different form of this question so we can kind of look at it from some different aspects. Gender roles, modern day society, modern day society. I'm married, my wife is very successful. You feel what I'm saying? You know, I don't know about your particular situation, but when we talk about gender roles, there's a lot of talk about men and women being equally successful and how we deal with it. In your experiences, I'm assuming that you have met a lot of successful women. maybe you've probably married to a successful woman. How do you balance? How do you balance, and what's your ideology? How do you work with that? You got two successful people in the house, and we know the qualities it takes to be successful.
Yeah. So it'll set up for a little headbutting at the house at times. But no, I think it's important that you get somebody that's on your level, somebody that you can kind of relate to, and I don't necessarily view it as masculine or necessarily a feminine trait. I mean, if you have two driven people that's going after a goal, you got to kind of know when to kind of ebb and flow. I mean, one example that you related to, your dad brings home the check to the wife, and she handles and does everything with the money. But if she's bad with money, you can't bring it then, right? Then we all know. Yeah, then we all know. Yeah. So you gotta really evaluate, right? She didn't go down the Saks and spend up the whole time, right? So you gotta kind of find what works for you, and what you really have to do is kind of separate yourself from what the societal norms are, right? I think a lot of times we buy into this image. Well, this is the way a man has to be. Or like men don't cry, men don't go to therapy, right? So you got to divulge yourself of that and kind of figure out, all right, what works for you. And look, she might be excellent at money. You might be the excellent cook, right? You might really love to cook. That might be your thing. So you can't necessarily genderize those roles or kind of put people into different categories. You got to be able to. You know who you are, and I think that's part of you kind of being confident in who you are to say, hey, all right, well, look, my wife worked all day today, I'm gonna go home and cook. That'll make me less of a man if I do that. It's about having that right level of balance.
It's definitely gonna make your house more peaceful.
Oh, right.
The house is gonna be way more peaceful if you go ahead and cook. Cause, all right, you're married, right?
Yes.
I think you mentioned married. Wife's here.
Yep, front row.
All right. I ain't gonna make it that bad. It's not that bad. Usually your heart starts beating when you say stuff like that. Oh, what are you about to ask me? No. Because we've discussed gender roles so much, and this is not a new conversation. This is an ongoing conversation. Did you guys ever discuss gender roles or what you expect in a relationship or marriage? Did it ever come up in conversation, or did you just find your flow and it naturally?
I feel like it normally only comes up if something's going wrong. But with us, we're pretty fluid. We communicate well, so nobody has a set thing they do besides planning, because she handles that. She's great with that. But in terms of things around the house, no. It's if there's something that needs to be done, we communicate with each other and take care of it. So, like, the man has to do this.
And so that kind of just naturally formed with you guys. You just kind of.
And communication, like I said, is the major key. Being able to, express your thoughts, your feelings to somebody, and also being able to accept that their feedback and come to, a compromise. That's
Lamont, gender roles. How did you come up with your idea of what you thought gender roles is supposed to be? I mean, I think you mentioned, different situations you went through growing up. So how did you come up with that? How did you say, oh, this is what I think is masculine, or vice versa?
A lot of times it's just what you see, right? Well, for myself, it's just what works for my life. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, it's no set role. There was just one rule: women didn't touch trash in my house. So that's one thing. You know what I'm saying? Any heavy work or dirty work, I just feel like it's a man to step up and do, right? And then when it comes down to providing, I just feel like that's my role. It's not necessarily just because I'm a man, but because I'm a man, I can do that. But just in my nature, I like to take care of those that I love. So my woman will never have to reach for her purse, but come correct, like my woman's gonna have to have motion. She gotta have all motion. You know what I'm saying? So whereas you ain't gotta actually spend any of your money, you gotta come bring something to the table. You know what I'm saying? And that's not something that was just instilled in me anyway. I think that just works for me how I am. Like, I'm gonna bust my ass for mine and ours and us, and I just need somebody who's gonna make me better, not only mentally but spiritually, motivate me, and then bring it on to the table.
Cedric, married, single?
Single.
Single. All right, single. All right, that's good. All right, that's what I needed. That's what I needed right here, so we can mix it up a little bit. We gotta mix it up a little bit. I love it.
Let's talk about it. Let's get it.
Gender roles and dating. I'll say this. Gender roles, dating. When dating, you out here dating, you meeting people. How do you accept when you meet someone and maybe a female and she make more money than you? Like, is that a turn on? Is that a turn off? It don't matter? We worried about the personality? I mean
Well, I'm gonna say this, man. My ambition and my drive is so crazy that I think, that's just only gonna motivate me to go out there and get more. That's me. I'm not saying it was pretty. I mean, my mom's literally makes probably 2-3 times what my pops do. And they cool with that. You feel what I'm saying? That works for them. But me personally, I'm very driven, I'm very ambitious, and so I don't think it ever really be a situation where my woman would make more than me, honestly. But I think being very thorough during the dating phase and being very intentional during the dating phase is where you kind of come to find out, exactly what it is that not only works for you, but what that person, may need or want, right? And so I always say in life, man, the number one thing is knowing yourself, and the second thing is moving accordingly, right? So obviously having that self-actualization, and then another big thing, right? Emotional intelligence. I think being able to know, like we're talking about gender roles and things of that nature, just truly being able to know you in and out, right? Not only from what you like and don't like, but kind of your tics and things that work for you and don't work for you in regards to, okay, if I know, my partner is, in XYZ position, right? And she's making XYZ money, she's working these crazy hours, and, I know I'm doing this, which is in alignment kind of with what she got going on as far as how much money we're making, but it may not be very taxing on me as far as time, right? You gotta be able to know that, well, yeah, man, I may make more money than you, but I got more time than you. So if there's something that you can do to be able to help, alleviate some pressure on her end, then you need to be able to do that. And for the women, vice versa, right? So I think between knowing yourself and moving accordingly and having that emotional intelligence to, really tap into, okay, who this person is and how we can complement each other, because we're all on our own individual paths and journeys in life, right? And we're just trying to see if we can collaborate and kind of help one another reach the end goal. Is where I think, essentially gender roles kind of are founded from in my perspective.
Jay Lee, on your come up, brother. You was on the come up. You ain't always, we all go through it. We was coming up. You ever dated somebody that had more money or assets than you at the time that y'all was dating?
Yes.
And so in that particular situation, how did it make you feel? Was there ever moments in that situation where it made you feel less? And why? I got the why now.
The why? Yeah, I like the why. That was the why right there. I'd say, well, I live in Atlanta, so it's just totally different. Like,
yeah,
it's just like loving him and all that. Like, it's just different, right? So, for me, my son's mother actually is older than me. I'm 26, she's 32. She's really like big in real estate. So she sells to like the Futures, the Shaquille O'Neals, the Cam Newton. These are the people that she sells to. You know what I'm saying? And then I was just selling to just regular people. You know what I'm saying? And I had to kind of like realize who I was. Because I'm like, how can she be dealing with X type of people, but then dealing with me like, why is she dealing with me? Like, if she could go talk to this man, I drive a Buick with no shocks at this point. And she got a brand new range. She's like, I'm talking about, my car stopped at the light and bounce. You feel me? I'm in my grind. Yeah. And I think for me, I really had to realize at that point that money wasn't everything. They had money, but they weren't good people. They weren't really gonna love her the way I was gonna love her and cultivate that family type of environment. You know what I'm saying? And that really helped me to really, as a man, kind of, I was like 21 at the time, like really get out of the whole, like, this is cool, kind of like you were saying, Instagram life to people want real love above everything. Whether you make more money, less money, or no money, people want love. So on the flip side of it though, like you said, did I feel a way about it? Yeah. So I did get in my bag, you feel me? But I did humble myself to learn from her. You feel me? Like at some point you have to humble yourself to be like, I'm open to learn from a woman to see what she got going on. Because at the end of the day, what she was doing was clearly working. You know what I'm saying? So I humbled myself, I learned, I listened, and I implemented what she was doing. And that kind of really pushed me to where I'm at now, to be honest with you. Like me having to humble myself and let a woman front the bill, like several times.
Let me
do
show you.
Yeah.
No, but I like the fact that no matter if you said it, I'm glad I asked you that question. Thank you for your transparency, because I think it's a big lesson in that. Because a lot of times, you know, the very thing that can help us, because our ego, you feel what I'm saying, our pride, will literally walk away from success based off of ego and pride. So I like that, man. That was a dope story, man. Give him a round of applause for that. I thought that was really dope. All right, man, we're gonna keep the party rolling. I'm looking at the time. We're gonna jump into it a little bit more deeper. Go to this. All right. By request. By request, we gotta go to this side of it. All right. So this next question, we're gonna talk a little bit about reproductive rights. You know, this has been a big topic. I think a lot of times when we talk about reproductive rights, men are left out of the conversation. And sometimes I feel like we don't feel like we have the right to be in the conversation. So at this point in time, at this part of the conversation, we're going to talk about reproductive rights. And should we be in the conversation? How much responsibility should we be taking in the conversation? All right, so the first thing is, part of this, we're gonna start out with reproductive rights. And do you feel like, when we talk about reproductive rights, do you feel like as men we are included in the conversation? And do you feel like do you feel like we should be included in the conversation? I'll start with Austin.
You're supposed to be in the conversation, right? Obviously, if she's not married, then maybe just period. You know what I'm saying? So you're supposed to be in the conversation, but it's solely indicative to her. You know what I'm saying? And now, do I feel the decision should always be there? The decision should always be there. From a morality standpoint, to say that you're harming a child or a living life. That can be argued in so many ways that it comes down to your own moral standpoint. And to God, in my opinion, God gives us the choice to sin or not sin. So if you want to put it in that aspect, you can't take someone's choice away. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like cursing, it's like sex before marriage, anything like that. You have the choice to do this. If not, you wouldn't have the rights. It wouldn't be America, right? Which in some cases, you don't have the right. So should we be a part of the conversation? We for sure should be a part of the conversation, but that's indicative to the person you had sex with. And being able to analyze and say, hey, if I'm having unprotected sex with this person, and I know this person is a combative person, or I don't see myself having a baby with this person, that's partially on you too. So when it comes down to that decision, if she wants to say, hey, I'm keeping it, or you don't have any say so in that, put yourself in that situation, right? But it is supposed to be a two-issue. It's supposed to be a conversation. If you want to keep your child, you want to be able to keep your child. If it's a situation where the mother wants to have nothing to do with it, it still has to be a conversation. But I don't think that it's legally that we have any bearing to that. I'd have to ask the Lord, if we have any bearing to it. But I know in real life, most of the patients, it's up to her.
Deron, how much responsibility should the man take when it comes to sex in general? Safe sex? Should you be supplying condoms? Like, how much of that is the man's responsibility, in your opinion, when it comes to sex and the results of sex?
So
there's several results.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So having a son in college, we've had this conversation. Right? So here, and I also have a daughter that's 17 at Ben Franklin. So I had to have this conversation on both sides, right? The son was a little bit easier. The daughter was much more tough conversation. But what I shared with him, it comes down to personal responsibility, right? You have a responsibility to make certain that you're putting your health as a priority. So when it comes to birth control, okay, she might say she's on a pill. You can take her word for it, but know that you're rolling the dice. Now, there's one way you can control that. And I told my son, I'm not naive. I'm not going to tell you, to be that you're just going to wait until you find that one on that night. I know life happens, right? And but when you're in that situation, if you're not taking responsibility on your end, you're open to any outcome that might happen. And you're just going to have to be man enough to deal with that, and whatever that situation may look like. So when it comes to, any contracted disease or preventing, using birth control, you got to take that on personally and own that responsibility. It's not just a one-sided conversation where, oh yeah, you need to go do this. You got to own it for yourself.
No, man. I like this. Carlos, man, we talking about sex, talking about reproductive rights. Have you ever been in a situation where you know someone or been in association with someone that may have been dealing with, I guess, the confusion of reproductive rights? And I'll kind of give an example to help out. I think we all kind of been in a situation where somebody was dealing with somebody, or maybe this person was thinking about, termination of pregnancy. And I've had conversations with men, and they felt like they didn't have an opportunity to have a say so. What about yourself? You ever been in that situation, and or somebody in that situation?
I've been in that situation personally in high school. I feel like it's difficult at a young age, like a lot of people in here may be, to try to have those life-changing conversations with your partner, friend, whoever it might be. I feel like ultimately, a woman does have that final decision because it is her body. She will have to take on the responsibility of that being that she has. And obviously that does include both parties. I feel like ideally she's able to do what she wants to do, and y'all can come to an agreement on how to go about moving forward.
Nah, dope. Thank you for sharing. Man. Appreciate it. Lamont, let's see. As a man, how do I want to pose this question? As a man, how much attention how much attention do you put on taking care of your reproductive system? That means, just going up and checkups and things of that nature. And has it changed at any point in time in your life? Was there one point in time where you didn't, and did you get better? What's been your story when talking about that? Because a lot of times, men, we don't really be going to get checked out like we're supposed to. Just being realistic.
Correct. Like when I was younger, when I was in college, it wasn't as much of a priority. But obviously, as I got older, it became something that just made systematic. So obviously, annually, when I just do a physical or just go to the doctor, I'm always going to just blood work or panel. But if I'm like changing partners, if I slipped up, obviously that's something I'm gonna go address now. I'm not gonna wait on it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times it's, I don't want to know, so you put it off. Man, get that checked on ASAP. And then just getting out ahead of it, like to piggyback off the question you asked earlier, I think it is the man's responsibility to be supplying condoms. Because how do you just go to a woman's house and she just got them over there? You know what I'm saying? Like you decide to make a decision to put yourself inside of her, so you gotta make the decision to protect yourself inside of her. And when it comes to what comes out of you, like the best birth control isn't what's inside a woman. Best birth control, think about it, y'all. Would you rather disarm a gun, take out the clip? Or would you rather take shots at a bulletproof vest? Cover yourself up, protect yourself. But yeah, I've systematically got better, so now it's just, annually, just staying regular. When I'm just doing my regular health checkup, just tied into that, it just makes everything easier. And then, if you're changing partners or if you feel like, being in a risky situation, if it's something that's been out your body, you know what I'm saying?
Where I was thinking about whenever you said you wouldn't expect to go to a woman's house that she had a condom. Who this for? Who this for? Girl, you wild.
For real, like, okay.
Alright, Cedric, man, you out here dating, man, trying to find that lucky one. Man, when dating, how often do you have the conversation about sex in general, sexual practices, sexual safety?
If I'm being completely honest, probably not enough. But I am very big on taking preventative measures. My partners that really know me, I get on them all the time. They be so free flowing, ready to just, do whatever, man. I always take preventative measures. I'm not doing nothing without taking preventative measures. You know what I'm saying? So if that's completely, dubbing her and saying, I ain't messing with it, if that's using, protection, whatever the case may be. I do believe that obviously, as a man, you know what I'm saying, kind of just piggybacking off of what the man said, you're making that active decision to partake in, certain activities and intercourse and things of that nature, man. It's your responsibility for sure to ensure that, however the ultimate outcome of the situation is, that you had some type of, at the very least, opportunity to be able to control the results of that situation. And so I think, after the fact, it's too late. You know what I'm saying? Taking those preventative measures on the front end is where it's important. So, as far as me having those conversations with the partner, not as much as I should, if I'm being honest. So, I'm saying that to tell y'all, like, have those conversations. For real, you know what I'm saying? Because,
my brother, you said it's an open panel, so can I ask you a question?
All right, go ahead.
All right. So what do you feel like is a good time to have that conversation when it comes to, getting tested, are you tested? It's in the heat of the moment, you already got it steamed up, y'all hot, y'all ready to go. You're going to break it right there and ask me to test it, you're going to do it. Well, what's your approach on that?
Oh man, I feel like in that particular situation, like you said, what's the time to have that conversation? I mean, technically to me, I think the time to have that conversation is like when you know for a fact that it's a possibility that it's gonna go down. I think you need to start. I ain't saying rush the gun. You feel what I'm saying? Don't get out there too fast. I'm saying, but when you know, because most of the time there's a pivotal point in a male or in a relationship, in a sexual relationship, there is a pivotal point where before this stuff is about to go down, whether it's that look in the eye or whether y'all done text each other, DM each other, and you on your way over there, when you know you about to, y'all start talking about sex. When you start talking about what you're gonna do to them, you need to also be talking about, you be getting tested.
When the last time was?
I think that's that's something I have grown kids, so that's pretty much how I talk to them. So that's what I would tell them. When y'all start talking about what y'all about to do to each other, that's when you need to slide the question in there. When you last time you got tested? I tell my daughters before you text them and tell them to come over, tell them to bring some condoms with them. Like, you gotta be realistic. You gotta protect yourself from both sides, men and women. You feel what I'm saying? So it's a conversation on both sides. If he ain't responsible, like my man Dillard said, somebody gotta be responsible. So I'm not, if you're talking about your life, you shouldn't be waiting on the next. You ain't waiting on the next person to make a decision about you walking in front of a moving 18-wheeler. You're gonna make your own decision. You're not gonna let Don P tell you, walk on out there. You're gonna be like, no, I'm gonna make my own decision. It should be the same way. It's the same thing. It's your life. Justin, you up. Talking about reproductive rights. Do you think that the idea behind reproductive rights vary by race and gender? And if so, give me some examples.
Do I think that the rights vary by race and gender?
Yeah, like, do you think the idea of rights, like maybe one thing may be cool in one culture, and maybe not cool in another culture. Maybe one gender may feel strongly about something in this particular way. Maybe one gender may feel more strongly about something in a different kind of way.
I think,
and this is an opinionated question, and anybody that want to jump in can jump in, because I think everybody might have a different opinion on this. But do you think your racial background makes difference?
I don't know necessarily your racial background, probably your maybe your upbringing. Like, I'm personally Catholic, and I'm raised by my grandparents, who were born in 1922. So they not really with all that.
Yeah, that's not a question.
They feel like if you lay down and did what you did, be a man and take care of responsibility. So that's kind of how I was personally brought up. Now, did I necessarily agree with that at all times? Probably not. I think it really just boils down to, like, the person. I think every race is going to have differences because everybody's different. So you can be white or black and feel the same way. I was actually watching this last night for the Kentucky governor debate, and that's a big thing. A black dude is a Republican, and he's against it. He's against transgender and abortion. White guy, Democrat. That's totally different, typically. You know, typically black.
Right. Typically, ideology-wise.
Right, ideology-wise, you know what I'm saying? It's totally different, but they were in opposite seats. And the white Democrat actually won. He was reelected, but I think that it really just boils down to the person and what they have going on. But me personally, I do think a woman should have the choice. And I think that a man kind of has to control what he controls. Like, nobody told you to go in there raw. You know what I'm saying? You chose to do that. So you can choose to deal with whatever decision she makes. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, that's my personal take on it. White, black, young, old. It's all about choices. I mean, whatever you do, stand on it. For real.
Nah, man, good answer. Good answer. Whatever you do, you gotta stand on it. I like that. I like that. I like that. It seemed like everybody on the panel kind of had a similar feeling about protecting women's right when it comes to reproductivity. I wanna pose the question to you, Austin. Why do you think it's important to you to, one of the things you said ultimately is that woman's choice. Why is that important to you? Where do you think that came from?
I don't have to carry a child nowadays. I don't have to put my body through that level of stress. I don't have to risk essentially my life to have that child. And that's a conversation that I would have with your doctor, right? You could say, I want to have this child all I want, and the doctor said, hey, there's a chance that you're not going to come out of this. That's a very pivotal, critical decision. And for someone to strip that right from you, and you have to go through paperwork or anything just to have the right to say, I got to save my own life, rear this child, right? It's absurd, right? So the choice has to be on them because they're the one carrying the package.
All right. Thank you for the answer, man. Thank you for that answer. All right. At this point in time, I'm being told we want to do some Q&A with the audience. And so at this point in time, audience, if you raise your hand or address me here, you can ask questions about any of the things or topics that we talked about to anyone on the panel. Who's first? Keyshawn.
I feel like everything he said was some good information.
Feel like it's all self-explanatory. Anybody else? Anybody got any questions? I got you.
I'm for Justin. How was it balancing your business and dating? Because I know it's tough out there having a lot of money and all the women, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. In Atlanta.
Well, it's terrible. Oh my God. Wow. What? I didn't see it all. Everybody, mama and their cousins. It's interesting. I tried to date women that have a lot of money too. That's from professionals like lawyers and doctors. I've dated actresses. I've dated rappers' children, like real notable rapper children from them. And I think really it goes back to the person. Like, so I always try to remove the money. So Tia would say I'm cheap because I'm the type of person where no matter how much money I got, I'm still disciplined. Like, I'm not about to go to Nobu. No, boo, we not going there. Like, why are we going? No, it's not happening. But we can come and make some lamb chops. You feel me? Somebody that really wants the money, they're not trying to sit up there and cook with you, but really somebody that wants to be with you, they like to bond, you know what I'm saying, and experience that and create that little culinary presence. So I think for me, it's just taking a different approach, like, and removing the money and just spending good time and vibes. Like, I'm not gonna do what they would think. I'm gonna do something that's like totally different. I'm gonna pick you up in my work truck. You're not going in the Tesla. Like, you feel? I'm just trying to see the game. I'm piecing the game.
I feel like you got to.
You gotta see what's going on. In Atlanta for sure. And that's what I do, bro. I just fill it out and just try to vibe and just see what people head at, like, and say, all right, well, you know, how they move when the bill comes. Like, are they just here? Are they looking at it differently? You know, just feel the vibe, bro, and just try to get that genuine. And really, sometimes just ask them, like, you know, what does life look like to you? And some women will tell you straight up, I want to be a housewife. That's their favorite thing in Atlanta. I want to be a housewife. Do you cook? Do you clean? We're going to have a maid and a nanny. Huh? Then where that's going to happen from? Rich baby daddy, like Section Red said. No.
right, anybody else got a question? Come on, y'all, loosen up. All right, because I'm gonna ask a question to the audience then. All right, what you got?
I got one for the whole panel, really, to speak to these, young guys. To reach that next level of success, how important is the homies you keep around you, the team you keep, the mentors you have? How important is that to reaching that next level of success?
I'll start off. I'll say it's majorly important, and I also think that it's important. One of the things I wish that I would have thought about in college and then in the beginning years of my career is I see a couple of fraternities, fellas that's a part of fraternities up here.
Shout out to you to the building, bro.
I don't want to start nothing between the fraternities, but I brought up the fraternities because I said one of the things that when he talked about your circle and your friends, I definitely could have did a little bit better job of making sure that in those younger years, making sure you build a network and find people that are in the areas that you have interest in and attach yourself to somebody that's already doing what you want to do. Because one of the biggest things that I found in my career and through these years is everybody gonna need a usher. And the people who have the best usher will, most of the time, transition into success. And so when I say usher, that's that person that's gonna open the door for you, that's gonna lead you into, whatever career path or whatever business deal or destinies that you have out there. That's one thing I'll say, value those relationships. Because I had an opportunity to meet a lot of people, and sometimes I'll be like, I should have kept calling them. So make sure you cultivate those relationships. So whenever I think about the circle and the people that you have around you, I think even further than just the simple things of, if you get in the car with people that do certain stuff, if you get in the car with a shooter, you're gonna end up dying. That's simple. But I think about it on even past that level of, we want to get past the simple things. I think so much as black men and in our culture, we have been satisfied with accomplishing the simple goals. You know what I'm saying? Well, I wasn't hanging with no gangbangers. I mean, that's cool. You're not supposed to hang with gangbangers, but you want to be a financial person, but you want to hang with no bankers.
Yeah, I mean, the saying goes, your network determines your network. So you gotta build a network of people to get to where you want to go. So that's everything. That's crucial.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and chime in right here, and I'll say, man, especially in regards to business, but also personally, right? It's everything. I mean, people you spend the most time with, in regards to each of those things, are the people that essentially help to cultivate an environment that's conducive for you to be able to grow in whatever direction it is that you want to grow. I'll say something that's like super relatable to all of y'all right now in undergrad. When I first went from high school to undergraduate in Southeastern, I went to school with me and 4 of my partners. It was a total of 5 of us. And I mean, in high school, like senior year, we hung together every day, before school, during school, after school. I mean, stuck to each other like glue, right? And we got up there first semester, did everything together. Went to the union together, went to the CAF together, went to the gym together, the rec, did intramurals, went to the parties together. I mean, everything, right? And I got the first semester grades back, and it was the worst grades I ever had in my entire life, right? So I knew at that particular point in time, I came out here for multiple reasons, but the main reason was to leave with a piece of paper, right? And so I knew I had to start making decisions and putting myself in environments that were going to be conducive to reaching that ultimate goal. And I'm going to go ahead and give a big shout out to my LB, who's on Mr. Austin Banks, man, because, you know, he came at me, you know, we've been knowing each other for some time before this, but he definitely came at me at a pivotal time in my life where, you know, college is where you start to really feel like, you know, that man, right? You know, you start to step into manhood, right? This is your first sense of being on your own. This is your first sense of, it's all on me. You know, he sat me down, bro, and he told me, looked me in my face and told me, you know, you're not no regular dude. Don't be out here just doing regular shit, because, excuse my French, but, you know, this was a real pivotal moment in my life, right? I mean, after that, I started joining campus organizations, taking on leadership roles. I mean, doing all of these things, not caring about what it looked like to everybody else, but ultimately knowing what my end goal was and how I could kind of reverse engineer that and ultimately take the steps that I needed to take to get into that position. And so the people you keep around, this is now my business partner, like I say, he's my LB. We knew each other before we even got to college, but we got the opportunity to class together and everything, right? And now we're doing business together, making money together, you know, feeding each other's mental, psychological, so on and so forth. And it's been beautiful, man. You know what I'm saying? So definitely the company you keep is really a major part of, you know, the ultimate success or failure of, you know, what you ultimately want to become.
Kind of piggyback on that. I mean, with people that's going to pour into you, right? Since anything that I've done, I can say Cedric has boosted my confidence, right? So it's one thing to see yourself at one point, see, hey, we feeding off each other, we learn from each other's tendencies, and that's how you become better. Just like sports and coaching, you know, iron sharpens iron, right? And so the closer that you stay with people that's gonna pour into your goals, pour into your mental health, and not take things away from you, that's the big part. You know what I'm saying? When you have people that's around you to help facilitate the things that you want to do, things work out a lot smoother and a lot better. And that's all things through conversation and relationships, right? And I say that with anything, whether it's a business deal, whether it's family or friends or anything, it's all through conversation and relationships. And you have to have the wisdom to say, hey, you know, I can't talk to everybody. Some people just aren't worth my time, but this isn't in line with the things that I want to do with my life. And that when you set those boundaries, and I'm telling you, I'm learning it more and more as I get older. I'm setting more boundaries day. I need to be in business about an hour and a half. So, you know, once you start to recognize and learn those things, and you're around people that are standing on that, it's going to make you want to stand on it even more. It's going to make you look at the situation and say, hey, how can I maximize myself? And that's part of being on a winning team, and that's culture. You know?
No. All right, anybody you had a question?
I wanted Justin a question. You have a lot going on, and you know, I'm big on like time. Like, I'm an athlete, I'm in school, you know, and I want to start this business. So how you go about like your time? Like, you have a routine, a morning routine, or like what you do?
That's a good question, bro. Honestly, I really plan like a lot of myself out. So you only got 24 hours. So for me, I really had to really get real organized. And when I started my PhD program, it helped me to really learn like the importance of leadership and organization, right? So all my stuff is in military time, so that I can know, all right, it's 1,800 hours. That means I only got a couple left. So I really think through it like that. Really, that one trick helped me to really realize how much of my day has gone by and how much I have left. So I just switched my phone to military time. I really use my calendar. Like, I'm heavy on that. Like, if I know something's important, I'm gonna block the time out, whether that's to work out, whether it's to take my son to the park, or to take my girl out. You know what I'm saying? I would really use my calendar. And then it's that strategic planning, like everything can happen today. So it gotta be like, how can I plan out this next quarter? You know? Every year when it's time for vision boards, which is coming up real soon, I'm big on writing out my year goals. And then like that first month of the year, I'm gonna sit down like and go over, okay, this is my year, this is my quarter, this is my month, this is my week. You feel me? And I write them out. So every Sunday, I have a OneNote book, which pretty much everybody has OneNote, I think, through school. If you don't know what it is, OneNote is like a virtual notebook. And I just make different weeks. So I got week 1 to 52 out there, and I'll put down my goal for the week, Then I write down like the important tasks. I might have to pay my phone bill, go to my son's school, whatever. And I check it off. And whatever I don't complete that week, I move to the next. You see what I'm saying? So I never forget my goal. I just continue to move it until it gets accomplished. So just those two things really are just being organized by having notes and like attainable goals, and then utilizing my calendar to the T was really big, and just saying like, all right, I don't have time for that today. You know what I'm saying? I'll plan it for next week, whatever that is, and blocking out that time for you too though. If you like basketball, then block out that time to go play 21 with your partners on a Saturday or Sunday. If that means you gotta get up at 6 and go to LA Fitness, then that's what you gotta do. So, you know, just having that comfortable balance of what you wanna do. I start my day at 6, you know what I'm saying? And I try to wind it down by like 10, so I can be up and energized for 6. But that balance, bro, sometimes it's perfect, sometimes it's not, but just those two things is really what got me like through everything, really.
Look up a time audit and do a time audit with your day. So that's basically where you're gonna go throughout your day and you'll write down everything that you've done for that day, and then you'll get an opportunity to look at how you're spending your time, and then you can make adjustments from there, which eventually will flow into making a calendar. But you started off by saying, you know what? At the end of the day, when you get home, you're about to rest. Let me write down what I did today and what time, how much time I did with what. It's even better if you get time to do it every hour. What did I do this last hour? Damn, I was strolling on the internet for an hour. And then what'll happen is you'll start finding more time that, like, you have more time, but it's a lot of little small time. You're just not evaluating and paying attention to it. But if you do like an analysis on it and you evaluate it, especially if you do it by the hour, you'll start seeing like, oh man, I wasted 4 hours talking to this person. That was
just Joseph.
Yeah, I would put him on the calendar to talk on Saturday. We can't talk on Tuesday during business day. So I think for me, I had to work on, I'm still working on time management because I working in a career field where it's kind of unorthodox. Like, I've always been in a situation in radio where I'm only clocking 4 hours a day. That's when I'm on the air. The rest of my time, you know, I've been able to, you know, kind of move my schedule around, do things and stuff like that. So time management, though, that's a major. If you get that right, you're gonna be successful fast.
Sure.
That's how you get like him.
Be better than me, man. Be better than me.
Who else we got?
Anybody else? I was wondering, like, when did y'all realize like this is what y'all want to do? Instead of like y'all, I know y'all had like different focuses before y'all finally see like this y'all want to do. What made y'all cancel out everything that was happening? What was the turning point?
Honestly, I can't cancel out everything. I like multiple things. So, and I think that's ever changing. So it's not necessarily a cancellation, but it's what is sufficient and conducive to me at this time in my life, and do I think it's worth the time I'm going to put into it, and do I have an extra strategy if I want to have that, or do I want to pursue my career, or flexibility, right? So when I look at a lot of things, I write down the pros and the cons, and if it has a lot of pivots, it's a diverse situation that's going to be more conducive to me in my future. You know, if I have the time and the wherewithal to do it, it's up to me to execute, right? So, yeah, I wouldn't say that it's necessarily just like this one-time thing. Some people, maybe it is that. It's like, hey, this is me, this is what I'm doing for the rest of my life. And I don't just chop it up like that, because as I've contributed to my life, I've changed. I've gone through things, and I realized, okay, well, I did like certain aspects of this, and I learned from this, and I looked up the information to see what is the next piece. And you can do that with multiple things at one time. It depends on what you want to do, and if you can.
Okay, my question would be, what skills do you think you need for your career that you're in now? Like, what skills would they need to develop now to start the careers that y'all are in?
I'm gonna say everything network out the gate. If you don't have any people skills, it's not always necessarily what you need.
And I think one of the panelists mentioned this earlier, talked about emotional intelligence. I've met some incredibly technically gifted people that are brilliant. They never go anywhere in their career because they lack that skill. They don't, and going back to people skills, you gotta know how to function in life, because everything that you do, you're gonna have to interact with somebody else. I mean, you can write the best computer program out in the world, but if you don't know how to communicate and how to leverage relationships, that'll never go anywhere. So I think it's really understanding how to really who you are, tapping into your strength, learning how to communicate, and having that being emotionally savvy to know, hey, don't get too high, don't get too low. Kind of really read into what the other person is saying and really listen to what people are saying, and that will help you learn how you need to move it.
I'd say time management, discipline. They were talking about using the calendar app. That's changed my life as an adult, making sure you set those events for the day, you pick out the time, complete those tasks, because it's so easy to get lost on your phone, playing around. If you're in college, you got parties, ladies, jobs, who knows, but like to be able to stick to your goals, do your research, and like stick to it. That's the main thing I'll get you to focus on life, in my opinion.
I agree with that. Time management and discipline. Law school isn't the hardest thing in the world. Locking in and telling yourself you're gonna read 50 cases tonight, but at the end of the night, you know what I'm saying? That's discipline. You don't gotta be super smart to do that. You gotta be disciplined.
And it's hard to do it hungover.
I would say definitely interpersonal skills, right? Like depending on how you want to approach this type of field, if this is something that you're interested in. I mean, there's so many different ways. You can go into a big corporate firm where you can be sitting behind a desk all day, not necessarily interacting with people on a day-to-day basis, just billing hours, or you can kind of do the type of work we do, plaintiff's work, where you're dealing with 50 to 100 different personalities on any given day at any given time. And so really being able to hone your interpersonal skills is something that is super critical in our field. And I would also say just the work ethic, right? You know what I'm saying? And everything in life, you gotta know that, you're not the only one out there that's trying to accomplish something, do something either. So you gotta be willing to go above and beyond, right? You gotta be willing to get told no, right? Be able to persevere time after time after time, right? Because at the end of the day, when you get into a market or a field where you're basically, I don't want to say fighting for market share, but I mean essentially that's what it is, right? Because at the end of the day, if you don't sell them people that house, somebody else will, right? If I don't go and be able to represent them and get success on this case, right, they're gonna go find another lawyer, right? So always being able to have that competitive advantage and knowing that, I always gotta be 1 step, 5 steps, 10 steps ahead of the next person, and having this kind of crazy and unwavering work ethic and drive to just want to be the best that you can be is super necessary as far as being not only successful but lucrative in this business.
I think for me, really, skills, like, depending on what field you're in, there's going to be different skills, but like my brothers on the panel kind of say, they're all interpersonal. That's big. 2 things that I've always, focused on being was passionate and driven. So no matter what I was doing, I always was passionate about it, and I never did something for money or something for the title or for what it may look like. I did it because I was interested in it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that has really gotten me further than chasing money. I look at it all the time, I have a line brother, and a lot of times people will talk about him and laugh at him, right? He went to school at Morehouse, got a $250,000 education with no scholarships. He got a $250,000 in student loans, right? He a landscaper. But that man is the best landscaper you're gonna find. He be smiling, happy, that's all he wanted to do. He said, I went to school. It was the craziest thing I ever heard. He said, I went to school to build my network of clients. He said, because I knew that all of my Morehouse brothers were going to be successful and we're going to have multiple properties and houses, and I was going to take care of them. I said, dang, bro, that's a genius strategy. Because dude make $220 a year cutting grass. And everybody laughing at him, but he had a strategy and it worked. So I said that passion and that drive for whatever it is that you want to do, be the best at it. You know what I'm saying? And it'll take you much further than chasing money or what seems cool today or whatever it is. So just passion and drive, bro.
I'm gonna piggyback off that. I'm gonna say purpose. You know what I'm saying? Just like find out what your purpose is, because it don't matter what your career field is, because no matter what career field you're in, you're gonna have something that's gonna keep you going whenever all of the other stuff is not going right. You know what I'm saying? When it get tough, when you make mistakes, when things happen, it's gonna take something. So sometimes it's like, and I think the moral of the story is like, yeah, the skill sets are gonna be there. You know what skill sets you're supposed to have to be in a certain field. But again, I think that you definitely gotta have purpose or something that's gonna keep you going beyond anything else. Beyond anything else that you can imagine, money, anything else, it's gonna have to be something else.
2 questions everybody gotta be able to answer, man. Who am I and what is my purpose? You can't answer those 2 questions in life, you're already starting off wrong, man. So, you know, if you have that, build on that. If you don't, I suggest y'all go home tonight to the dorm, to the pub, to the crib, wherever, you know, and really take a look in the mirror, you know what I'm saying, and really ask yourself those 2 questions and see if you can answer and be able to build on that, man. And for real, bro, I just want to say, shout out to the panelists. No offense to some of the older brothers here, man, but I mean, we got 26, I'm 28.
39.
Just made 30. 31.
I'm the old guy on the back.
You know, like, but I
Me or you?
I just want y'all to know,
I'm the old
bro.
guy.
It's out here for us, man. You just gotta have hunger, and you just gotta want to go get it, bro. We young dudes, right?
Yeah.
We not too far from where y'all at right now. It's possible.
Time to fly.
The only, you know, it ain't just about ball or, you know, hustling or whatever the case might be. Obviously, we not on that kick because all of y'all are in school and working toward bettering yourselves, man. But, you know, it's out here for us. We just got to stay committed, you know what I'm saying, lock in, stay disciplined, and go make it happen, bro. So.
Okay, thank you guys so much. Let's give a round of applause to our champions.